Taking an 8, 12, or even 17-hour flight can sound overwhelming, or even a little scary. And if we're talking economy class, that probably sounds even worse. But after having taken hundreds of long-haul flights all around the world, I can tell you there's nothing to be afraid of. That said, there are some key things to keep in mind if you want to make your flight not suck. And if you're like me, these tips might even help you enjoy your flight, no matter what seat you're in. Okay, maybe not the middle seat in economy. That one's still a tough sell, but we'll get to that. I've been on long flights in just about every seat on the plane. Front, back, lie flat, and all the way back in row 56. So everything in this video comes from real experience. We're gonna break it all down into 3 parts. What to do before your flight to set yourself up for success, what to bring and how to stay as comfortable as possible during your flight, and what to do after landing to beat jet lag and make sure everything goes smoothly wherever you happen to be going. So let's start with how to ensure a smooth long-haul flight before you even step on board. What you choose to eat and drink before a long flight is pretty important. An extra spicy curry or 1 too many drinks the night before? Surefire ways to make a long-haul flight feel way longer. Hopefully you already knew that. But if you're even a little sensitive to certain foods, it's worth considering. Any issues you happen to have on the ground, bloating, cramps, all that good stuff, they're just going to be a lot worse at 35,000 feet. In general, I try to keep it light and flight friendly. This means something different for everyone, but simple carbs, protein, and staying hydrated are usually a safe bet, especially when you're flying economy and don't have a ton of space to get comfortable. If you have access to an airport lounge, this is a great way to start your journey off on the right foot. Most airports with long-haul flights usually have a few decent lounges, and getting in might be easier than you think. Business and first class tickets usually include lounge access. But status, priority pass, and even some credit cards will get you in too. Lounges are really the perfect travel hack for avoiding the chaos that can be an airport terminal. Plus, a lot of them actually have really good food. But maybe just take it easy. I mean, hypothetically, eating a huge plate of Turkish barbecue before a 12-hour flight might not be a move you want to make. Not that I would know or anything. And don't forget, unlimited free alcohol or coffee can be very tempting. But overdoing it is a recipe for disaster, especially if you plan on sleeping on board. Also worth noting, if a gate agent thinks you're too intoxicated, you can be denied boarding. No refund, no rebooking, game over. And since we have made it to the boarding gate, let's talk about what you've got to do right before your flight. Long-haul international flights usually have strict procedures at the boarding gate, especially for destinations like the US. You might face extra security, document checks, or exit interviews. And if you happen to have the beloved SSSS printed on your boarding pass, things can take a lot longer. That's only for flights to, from, and within the US, by the way. And SSSS stands for Secondary Security Screening Selection. Basically, the TSA system can flag you for any number of reasons or even just randomly. It's happened to me a few times, and sometimes it takes longer than others. But regardless of US specific stuff, you always want to show up to the boarding gate of a long-haul flight early. If you miss the cutoff time, you could be denied boarding and lose your ticket. No refund, no sympathy. And beyond that, boarding early has some major practical benefits. Wide-body aircraft, which most long-haul flights use, usually have decent overhead bin space. But on longer flights, people will often have more baggage with them, and those overhead bins can fill up really fast. If you're last aboard, you could end up with your carry-on in a bin at the other end of the plane. Or worse, have to check it at the gate. Getting on board early also gives you some time to get situated, claim armrest territory, and not feel rushed as the cabin fills up. But now that we are on board, let's talk about what to do during the flight. This depends a little on where exactly you're seated. If you've got an aisle seat, that means easy access to the overhead bin in flight. But if you've got the window or God forbid the middle seat, it's a little different. Let's start with what you must bring no matter where you're seated. Once you get to your seat, wherever it is, it's time to pull out that little underseat bag you packed. Don't worry, it doesn't need to be fancy. Some people swear by a fanny pack, but I usually go for a small backpack like this one. What matters most is that you've got all your essentials within arm's reach. Whatever bag it is, it's your survival kit for the next 8 to 17 hours. What's in it will vary from person to person, but one thing I never board a long-haul flight without, a solid pair of sound isolation or noise-canceling headphones. My wife likes this pair, I use this one. The exact model really doesn't matter as much as having something to block out crying babies, loud seatmates, and the constant drone of the engines. Seriously, these are one of the absolute best investments you can make for flying long-haul, especially in economy. And the good news is you really don't need to spend a fortune. These cost around $20 while these cost somewhere around $30. And for the price, they work surprisingly well. Yes, airlines do give out free headphones on most long flights, but in economy class, they're going to be pretty cheap headphones and they're probably not going to block much sound at all. I'm also pretty sensitive to cabin pressure, so in my bag you'll usually find a small bottle of water, some cough drops, and my earplanes. For sudden descents or quick climbs, these help me deal with cabin pressure a lot better. Everything else I might need during the flight and might not be able to grab later goes in this bag too. I've always got lip balm because cabin air can get pretty dry, charging cables for whatever devices you have, and maybe a small power bank. I mean, most planes these days will have USB, especially for long haul flights, but sometimes they don't work, and sometimes older planes may not have them installed. Then I'll have some hand sanitizer or alcohol-based wipes, an eye mask, maybe a pin for immigration forms, and one thing I don't personally use but a lot of other people have had great success with are compression socks. If you've ever had that swollen feeling in your legs and feet after a flight, they might be a good choice for you. I just don't have that issue. Some airlines will actually hand out amenity kits even in economy, like these. They can definitely be handy, but they're usually pretty hit or miss. I've been on flights where amenity kits have run out, and often the quality of the stuff actually inside of them isn't that high. I mean, amenity kits are definitely a nice touch when airlines have them, regardless of class, but generally the stuff inside will just be small things that you'd be traveling with anyway, so why not have your own stuff accessible? But we've got to talk about neck pillows. Look, I've tested them forwards and backwards many times, and I just don't find them useful or comfortable. First off, they're very bulky, unless you bring one of those inflatable ones. But then they smell and feel like a pool floaty. And second, do you sleep sitting upright in a chair at home? No? Then why do we all keep hoping it will work on a plane? If you're in business or first class, great, you've probably got a lie-flat bed waiting for you. But if you're way back in economy, you might want to just give up the dream of restful sleep and plan for productive time instead. Read that book you've been carrying around, watch that series you've been wanting to catch up on, study the local language of wherever you're going, read about your destination or write about your trip, or if you're me, edit this video. That said, of course if you're someone who can just sleep anywhere, go for it. Actual restful sleep is productive. But don't waste half the flight in discomfort trying to force sleep that just isn't coming. Or worse, nod in and out of sleep and wake up feeling more tired than you were before. I always aim to use my time in a way that leaves me feeling better when I land. And speaking of landing, most long-haul flights end in one of two ways. Either you've got a layover and another flight to catch, or you're stepping off the plane into a long, slow-moving line at immigration. Either way, you're tired, your brain's a little foggy, and this is not the moment to be figuring things out on the fly. No pun intended. There's nothing worse than landing exhausted and realizing that you've got no idea how to get where you're going. So it's best to plan that before your trip, especially if you're heading somewhere new. Book a transfer, check how the local transportation works, and most importantly, have your hotel address and directions saved offline. Immigration officers will often ask where you're staying, and you need to be able to answer confidently. No idea, I'll figure out later doesn't go over well. Same goes for having onward flights to your next country already booked. That tiny bit of preparation can be the difference between a smooth arrival and a total meltdown at the airport exit. But your long-haul flight experience does not end at the airport that you arrive to. Jet lag is a very real thing, but it's also very beatable. In my experience, it does not take a fancy app or a wearable sleep tracker. The key is to immediately switch to local time. If you arrive during the day, try to avoid that post-flight nap unless it's a short, strategic power nap with an alarm. Instead, get outside, move your body, and hydrate like crazy. Even a short walk in the daylight can do wonders for resetting your internal clock. You'll still feel off for a little while, but your body will catch up fast if you help it along. If you want to see in action how I beat jet lag after 18 hours of flying from the US to Oman, I've got another video that you might enjoy after this one. But whatever you do, there is one big mistake that I've made myself. After a long-haul flight, don't ever head straight from the airport to a packed itinerary. It's all about easing into your new surroundings. You will burn out or even get sick if you try to brute force your way through jet lag. Take at least an entire day after your arrival before you get into doing anything intense. Grab a snack, sit in a cafe, people watch or get to know some locals. Just walk around the neighborhood. Let your body catch up while your mind starts exploring. So yeah, long-haul flights can feel daunting, but with the right mindset, a little prep, and the right stuff in your underseat bag, they don't have to suck. In fact, you might even start to enjoy them. Just remember the key things we went over here. Prep smart before you fly, stay calm, comfy, and flexible in the air, and ease into your destination instead of rushing through it. So after taking hundreds of long-haul flights myself, most of them in economy, that's what I do to make them pretty alright. Hopefully, you were able to learn from my mistakes and not have to ever make them. And if you like this video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and if there's any other long-haul flight tips you think that I missed, definitely drop them down in the comments below. But that wraps it up for this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.